Hello everyone! Today we're gonna take a look at Retroflag's handheld controller for the Switch and Switch Oled model. The unboxing is quite simple and you have the controller and a small manual. There's just a single color for the controller, which is this transparent purple. And the first thing I notice is that this controller is quite comfortable. The grips are very nice and it fits well in your hands. We have membrane face buttons, which won't sink flat with the shell when fully pressed. We have a clicky home button, and the analog sticks are entirely made of plastic. It also doesn't have anti-friction rings. We have a clicky plus button, and membrane shoulder buttons, which are very responsive and easy to press at any region. Since this is a Switch controller, the triggers are digital. And this controller also doesn't have any back buttons. There are holes for the air intakes, which are perfectly aligned with the ones on the Switch. On the bottom we have a pass-through port for charging, and the connector is fixed and not flexible. On the side there are these tiny metal locks, which will hold the OLED model in place. Just like the home button, the capture and turbo buttons are clicky. And we have a membrane Dpad. The controller has a soft material which will protect your Switch from scratches. If you have a regular Switch, it will be wobbly because the locks won't reach the system rail. The system is held only by the USB Type-C port, which is pretty strong, but it doesn't mean that your system is 100% secure. With enough force, the system can slip out of the controller. But with the OLED model, the locks will hold the Switch in place. The controller cannot wake up the Switch, which honestly it's not bad because you won't be using this controller wirelessly. It is fully compatible with gyro controls, and there is even a turbo functionality. Here you can visualize the speed of the turbo. Unfortunately, the turbo speed cannot be adjusted. And finally, there's a swap function. Just hold the two buttons you want to swap and tap the turbo button. Another point to consider is that this controller makes the Switch pretty heavy. It adds almost 100 grams to the system. Also, it is not compatible with Amiibos or HD Rumble. It does have this port on the bottom, but you can't dock your system with it. Even when using a single cable for the dock, it will only charge the system. And even using an adapter to connect it to the PC is not possible, because there's not much space around the connector. But we can test the analog sticks on the calibration screen, and here we can see that the center dead zone is pretty small. There is also no snapping to the cardinal directions, and overall, the movement feels very smooth. Testing the Dpad, the diagonals are somewhat easy to hit, and the Dpad has a pivot in the center, preventing you from hitting all 4 directions when you press it in the center. For the teardown, you have 4 screws on each side, and 2 on the bottom. With the screws removed, you can separate the shells. Here we have a bunch of flex PCBs connecting the 2 sides of the controller, as well as the charging and USB Type-C slots. The pivot on the triggers are entirely made of plastic, but the good thing here is that there are no metal parts, so the friction is plastic against plastic, and you won't get the problem where the pivot of the trigger gets cut because of the friction between plastic and metal parts. To access the boards, you'll have to remove all of the flex cables. And here we can see that it uses Hall effect sticks from GullyKit. The GullyKit modules are known for being super precise and having a great circularity. So this controller is 100% approved for Smash Bros players. The Hall effect sticks are way more resistant to stick drift, ensuring a strong durability for the more aggressive players. And the membrane of the D-pad is quite thick. On the other side, the button layout is not swappable, and we also have high quality membranes for the face buttons. On my final thoughts, the handheld controller from Retroflag is a decent controller. It doesn't have anything over the top, but what it does well. The Hall effect sticks are pretty solid, and the overall construction is very good. The pivots of the triggers are built correctly, and the membranes of the buttons are very resistant. This is also a good controller for kids because it offers more protection for the Switch, being bulkier on the sides. As for the cons, it does make the console feel a bit heavy, and it doesn't hold very well the standard Switch model. And that's it for this review. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.